tabadum, 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 tabadum. Hello there, and welcome to the Soulfire Inspiration Podcast. My name is Webby. I do what I do here, which is to share encouragement or encouraging messages with you, also that you're inspired to live intentionally and purposefully. The way this works is I come up with monthly topics or overarching topics which I break down into segments, which I then curate into written posts and share that with the subscribers of Soulfire Inspiration on email. I follow that up with video posts, which I put up on my YouTube channel, Webby Music, my Facebook page at Soulfire Inspiration, and my Instagram page, which is at Webby Music. And now that I get to do podcasts as well, I'm going to be releasing podcast episodes every Monday starting in August. Since I've just begun this, you're not going to have the weekly situation going on. I'm going to kind of catch up on the things that I've been writing and sharing on so far. But from August, you can expect to receive written posts and a podcast on Monday and a video on Friday. So you can pick whichever one you want to follow, whatever it is you want to get your information or your encouragement from, and you could follow that. I would encourage you to follow me on all those platforms so you can get the benefit of everything. But if you just like to follow this podcast, well, the link, of course, is in the description section of this podcast, wherever it is that you're listening. All right, that's a whole lot of description and explanation. Let me just jump right into what I am here to share with you about. This month of July, I've been talking about things to leave behind in a new season. Now, for context, I'm sure you've probably heard the term new season, being thrown around loosely or coming up casually in conversation. So for the context of this conversation, let's just say that a new season is kind of like the weather, the way you have in different parts of the world, winter, spring, and so on and so forth. And in the tropical areas, you've got, rainy seasons, hot seasons, cold seasons. Of course, the cold seasons are very relatively different. And so, life is kind of like that. We have different seasons of life where you've got difficulty, you've got ease, you've got victory, you've got loss. And the thing that we discover about life and time is that they move in only one way, which is forward. You only get to look at your life in hindsight and so reflect on the experiences you've had and then see what you've learned, what you've gained out of the experiences that you've had, where they leave you. And a lot of life's lessons seem to be learned clearly or seem to be seen more clearly in hindsight. And they make us wiser for it. But this conversation is more about what to do and how to manage the different experiences of life as you move along so that you get the most or the best out of those experiences. And so there are 4 basic principles that I'd like to share with you as we move along from this point that could help you to manage whatever season you come into or get out of. And the first one that I shared about was really about leaving behind the old mindset. The old mindset. Now you see, a mindset is generally how you perceive things, how you do things on the basis of your perception. So it's kind of like your value system. It's what you believe. It's what you're convinced about. It's what makes sense to you and what influences your actions, your decisions, and so forth. So every season of life, every stage of life, would come and go without you having a mindset that you formed in that season. Things that you believe and are convinced of, or even convinced by, depending on what we're looking at. But the thing is that when you move from one season of life and you go to another, there will always be the requirement that you have to leave an old mindset because it will very likely not function in whatever new season of your life you'd be entering into. So, for example, if you're entering into a new season of your life right now, the world is dealing with a pandemic and so many things about life as we know it have changed. And so right now, many of us are finding ourselves having to change the way we operate, the way we do things, the way we think about things, the way we see things, and even the way we relate with other people. And part of that change requires us to rewire the way we think. And so the old mindset from a season pre-pandemic may not necessarily function adequately in this season or in the next seasons of our lives. And I thought that I'd share a little bit with you about this and also give some biblical context or a biblical foundation from scripture that will allow you to keep referring and also perhaps maybe measuring and seeing, how are you doing as you go along the adventure of your life? Because I think life is an adventure. There's so much to learn. There's so much to gain. There's so much to experience. There's so much to see, and there's so much to accomplish. It's an adventure. You don't know what's coming next. All you know is that you have the present moment. But whilst you're going through all of these motions, it's good to be able to have something that is an underlying thought that allows you to have a focal point. And so I drew some inspiration from the scripture that comes out of Romans chapter 12 verse 2, and that's the Good News translation. And it says this: "Do not conform yourselves to the standards of this world, but let God transform you inwardly by a complete change of your mind. Then you will be able to know the will of God, that is, what is good and is pleasing to Him and is perfect." You see, an old mindset won't allow you to fully be functional in the new season or in the current season that you're in. It would be like driving a car on completely worn out tires. The ride would be bumpy. Even if it's a fantastic car, the tires, if they're worn out or in bad shape, that ride will be less than comfortable. So the question now for you would be, what mindset, what are your beliefs, your convictions, your thought process, or your perceptions? What are those things that you feel, or once you think about it and realize or kind of itemize them, what are those things that you're going to need to leave behind? Well, it's very important, first of all, to be able to differentiate an old mindset from the need of a new mindset. To identify an old mindset, you first have to become aware that you're no longer in or going back to what you've left, what characterized the last season of your life. And the second thing is that you're going to have to realize that you have to become a student of life, a student of your current disposition. There'll always be something to learn, and you're gonna be learning it progressively. And that's essentially how you replace an old mindset. You actually replace an old mindset by learning, by kind of like going back to default settings, resetting whatever was there previously and allowing room for what's going to be acquired over this present and the new times or the new spaces or the new seasons, the new dimensions of your life, the new experiences that are going to characterize the different seasons of your life. And so that, at this point, becomes the working mechanism that allows you to transition from different points of your life to other points of your life, and not get caught up or stuck in what you previously knew. And so I'm going to be sharing a bit more on this. This was actually what I wrote in the first segment. There's a second segment coming through, and we're going to finish off the sub segments for this month. And of course, in August, we're going to begin a new conversation, and of course, I'll share more about that when we get to that point. We're just smack in the middle of July at the point of recording this podcast. And so stay tuned. In the meantime, please follow this podcast so that you're notified on all the new episodes that come out. If you should choose to go check out my social medias, then please, there's a link in the description of this podcast. You can be able to go to my site, and it'll direct you to where you can find me on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Instagram. Thank you for listening. I really do appreciate you. Take care, be safe, and be love. Cheers.